Alright, hello everyone, Jura back with another video. In this video, we're gonna go through the whole Forge development for the beginners. So, this actually includes the installing the Forge CLI, going through the whole process of how you actually log in, how you actually create your application, how do you actually deploy your application, how do you install your application, and use that application within your specific Jira instance. All right, so the very first thing to know is you actually need to set up Node.js because it is needed in order to actually run. Now, you need the versions either from 20 point something, point X. If you don't have the Node.js, if you're actually using Apple, macOS, Linux, or Windows, you can follow these tabs right here. So for the Apple macOS, you will actually need to install NVM. That's the first thing. You actually need to scroll all the way here, and this is how you actually get it. And basically, you're going for install and update. So you can actually either use the curl command or wget. If you get some kind of errors and basically saying that you cannot actually do this, you need to use the sudo command in order to do the whole installation. Now I'm not going to go through that installation because I already have Forge. If you want to go through this, you can actually follow this video right here. I'm going to leave this video for getting started in the description so you can actually start using it. So after you install your node, you should be able to see the version of it. So if I go node dash V, so now what I'm actually here is I'm inside the Visual Studio Code, which is the code editor that you're going to be using for building your Forge applications. And in order to get to this terminal, you're going to have these tabs right here, and where it says terminal, you're going to click on it and you'll be able to execute some of the commands here. So you also have this Node.js installer, which is actually something different. Now, this is how the processes are basically looking. So you're starting with npm, npai, and the global Forge CLI installation. When you're actually done with that, it will be installed, and then you can actually see the version of it. So when we're actually seeing it saying do not install Forge, in case that it has been done, you may need to uninstall the Forge. This can be done using the command, which is basically this. So you're actually using the sudo to remove everything from the library and preferences that are contained in the Forge. And if you're noticing, yes, I'm going through the macOS. For the Windows, it is almost the same, but basically Windows is not using sudo. So you would actually need to run your command line in the administrator mode, so you can actually do that from there. All right, so what you need is actually you go with npm. So this is the first command that you're going to use, npm install global Forge CLI. And when you're actually done, I can see the version of the Forge that I'm using. So I'm just typing Forge version, and I'm having the Forge version, which is 12.5.2. So that needs to be outcome when you're doing the whole installation from the start. All right. So The another thing that you actually need to do in order to start using Forge, the very first step is you need to log in. In order to log in, you're going to need two things. The first thing is going to be your email. The second thing is going to be your API key. So in order to actually get your API key, you'll need to actually go to your personal settings in here, and you click on account settings. When you're within the account settings, you're also going to have the option in the navigation bar that is going to say security. So when you're actually within the security in here, I have API tokens in here. And when you actually go with the API tokens, you're going to be creating. All right, so it is sending me the verification code to my email, which is okay, understandable, and I will take it so I can get to it. I will actually pause this right here. And the thing is, you're going to be creating the API token without any of the scopes. All right, let us continue. So after you're actually done with generating your API key, you actually want to paste it and save it somewhere, because the next time you would actually want to review your API code, you won't be able to do so, because you have only chance to actually see this API token and then to copy it and actually store it somewhere safe. All right, the very first step is to actually do the Forge login. I have done it from here already, so I'm logged in as myself right now, and that is you're using your email, using your API key. The second step now is to actually create your application. So what we're going to do is what we're going to type is Forge create. That is going to be the next command, and I'm going to say for this one, it's going to be hello world. And now we can actually select for which platform this is going to be. So there are actually a lot of platforms in here, and you have like automation. You can create your automation rules with Forge, which can be really, really powerful. You also have for Bitbucket, Compass, Confluence, dashboards, which is the early access program for the home dashboards that are actually in there. And we're going to go and we're going to create this for Jira. And now it's asking us to select the category of the app itself. So there are like two main categories where we have UI kit, and we also have the custom UI. So what is the difference between these two? UI kit is basically having some basic elements of the design. So it's nothing really a big kind of a thing in terms of having some fancier UIs. If you want to have a more fancier UI, you actually need to create the custom UI. But the thing is, in order to actually run your custom UI apps, what you would actually need to have as an extra step is to use the Forge build command in order for that app to work. To actually simplify this, I'm going to go for the UI kit. Now, there are templates in Forge. So let me go here, and I'm going to say Atlassian Forge templates. So if we actually go for the templates themselves, basically there are a lot of them. Let's see, CLI templates documentation. I was looking here. All right, so it's not in here. Oh, it's not even in here. There was a whole there was a whole list of it, right? But the thing is, let me see and let me type it type this differently. Let's go with components. UI kit components. Now, these are the things that basically you can use. So this is not it. Identify forge components. No, that's not it as well. Oh, wow. All right. That was like the whole list of the things. Let me just type in project page. Navigation modules. So, full page model modules. All right. So basically, they're actually called modules. My bad. So, modules. So we have some modules in here, and it seems like this is for connect modules for Jira. No. That's not something that I'm really wanting. All right, so we also have for the admin page. No. Let me just go here. Automation, Bitbucket. No, common modules. Action validator, admin page. Yeah, this is it. There we go. So you have for Jira admin page, for example, there are some sub pages as well. You also have option for issue action, issue activity, issue panel. There is for project page, which is a pretty common thing, and it actually shows you where your Forge app will be appearing. So if you go back in here and we go down and we go for project page, so that is going to be a template, which is going to be a project page. And if you notice on the left side in here, we have a new folder that actually has been created in here with bunch of stuff. And when we actually open it, you're going to see that there is lots of stuff, like the source folder, which is going to be something that we're using. The manifest, that YAML, also really important. And if I can say, those two things are the most important ones that you're going to be using. All right. What else do we have? So we have now saying that there are three environments for the deployment, which is production, staging, and development. All of the deployment that is being done. So what deployment actually means, that means everything that you're doing is actually going for the development environment. All right. And there are actually options for production and staging. So basically, staging is almost for the production, but not yet. And it could contain some of the more accurate data. And when it comes to production, that means when it's in production, it means that the users that are using your app are going to see the real life changes in the real time, if there are some of the changes from your side. So you need to be careful on which environment you're actually choosing. So let's take a look at the structure here. So from the source, there are also two folders in here, which are the front end and the resolvers. So within the front end itself is like how your app is going to look like. And this is the boiler template that you're actually getting. And this is React indeed. So you actually need to have a knowledge of the React as well. So we can actually see that some of the libraries have been imported in here, and we can actually see that what has been imported is the Forge Bridge and the Forge React itself. Before Forge Bridge, in some of the earlier versions, the Forge API was being used, but now the bridge has replaced this. And as we can see, this is where the logic from the app itself is basically going. And also we can actually see what is happening here and the whole rendering. So what does this mean is when we actually run this application, it will print out the text of hello world, and it will also print out here the data which will load, and it will also print out the hello world as well. So this is when it comes to the index.jsx. Another interesting thing is, which is a bit more advanced, is you want to create something with your app that is going to be triggering some of the APIs. So APIs are basically the way of how your application is going to communicate with certain services. And when it comes to the APIs themselves, Jira, of course, has its own API. So if you go here and if you go for Jira Cloud API, and as you can see, if we click on the very first link right here, this is the documentation that we're actually having. So from the documentation, these are the options in here that we can actually use in order to interact with the certain APIs. So for example, if we are looking for, let's say, projects, and if we actually expand this, so for this, for example, we are getting, for example, getting our projects, but this has been deprecated, so this means that this is not basically in the use anymore. So yeah, this is something that, well, unfortunately cannot be really used. We also have the option to get the project, which is another great thing. And now, when we actually look at this code right here, we have the get method. That is the thing that I want to say is this is like the crash course on the APIs. So when it comes to the APIs themselves, usually they have four methods. That is the get, post, put, and delete. Get is the self-explanatory when you're actually getting the data from a certain endpoint, and the endpoint is basically everything from here. Yeah, that is one point to actually have in there. So that's pretty interesting. Then you also have the post, and the post is being used when something is being created. And post is when you're actually creating a request from this code editor right here to the application itself that is basically hosted online. In this specific meaning, it's actually hosted on the cloud. You also have the put method that is being used to update some of the things, for example, updating the project name. And you also have the delete, where you have the option to delete the project itself. All right, so first of all, that is the crash course on that. Another thing that I wanted to talk about are these resolvers in here and the index.js. This is where your backend logic goes. The thing is, you can, if you didn't know, you can actually use the backend within the index.jsx. At least this is something that I did, and it actually worked out for me perfectly. So these are some of the options in here. Manifest.yaml. This is where all of the changes within, let's say you don't want it to be called hello world, you want it to be called something else. You can also see the modules in here. We can see the module in here that has been presented, which is the project page itself. And it has the name of the app that is being used, what is the architecture, and what is the ID in here. Mostly what is it going to be happening is you're going to be using some certain scopes and permissions within your Forge application that will allow you to do more operations. For example, reading the information from the issues, writing some information from the issues, and so on and so forth. Right. The next thing that we are going to do first before we deploy the app itself, I'm going to with the command to npm install. All right, so okay. All right, so now when I have something like this, could not read the package and it's saying no such file or directory. In order to actually do this, I need to go sudo npm install. All right. So why the error occurred? It occurred because you need to be in your terminal with your specific folder. How you actually do this? You do that with the command of cd, which means change directory, and you go to that directory itself. All right. What we're going to be doing is going to be first and foremost, we're going to deploy our application. And our application is being deployed by default to the development environment. Now it's going to go through some of the processes in here, which is doing forge lint, for example. If you somehow run into some of the issues like forge deploy cannot start or something like that, first thing that this could happen is because you're not within the dedicated folder for that of your application app. And also, even if it's saying not to do the sudo, at least for installation of the Forge CLI, you can do this for your deploy. All right, and now it's saying the version of your app, it was deployed to the development. But this is where we are not done. It's being deployed, so it means like it's somewhere in the middle, but it's still not in our environment. So how do we do this? I'm going to go with sudo forge install. There we go. It's starting the Forge install. And now I want to select what is the platform tool going to be. And now it's asking me for the URL. So the URL that you're going to take is everything before this slash Jira and everything else. So I'm going to copy and paste that here. Do I want to continue? Yes. And now you're about to install the deployment on the production site. If you don't intend to test your app, we strongly recommend that you deploy your app to production, install the production version instead. And I'm going to ignore this because it's being contradictory here, because first of all, it's saying, oh, now it's in development environment. Well, how would you know? All right. So now the question is where our application is. If you remember, we were using the project page module. So this means that needs to be within the project itself. Now let's search for it. Aha, there we go. Hello world. It's actually in here. And there we go. Your app is here working as intended. That's actually pretty great. But as I said, you're gonna be using a lot of stuff in here. So request Jira from bridge, and let's go with the response itself. So let's see if we can get a response. So first of all, where is the project key in here? So the project key is going to be the project key of Plat. All right, the question is, how do we make the changes now? Since I entered the code here, and I want the changes were made, and basically that's it. Well, what you can actually do are basically two things. Either you want to continue using deploy all over again, or you can use the forge tunnel command to actually do the real-time changes for you every time you actually make changes to code. But sometimes you don't want to do that. So I want to go with sudo forge deploy to actually make the changes in here. So right, we're getting the response, and this is the response itself, right? And this is the endpoint that we have. And what is actually using is, all right, so run into another error. Now it's basically saying to us that it requires read Jira work scope, which is the permission that is scope being added. Luckily for us, we can run forge lint --fix to automatically fix this issue for us. Now, this is what is going to happen with the manifest.yaml file. The manifest.yaml file that we're talking about, where all the changes are. All right, as you can see in here, what we have is permissions scopes. That's not the only thing that is going to happen. More things are going to happen, and you're going to see for yourself. So it's going to ask us, where it's going to say that change of scope has been detected, and in order for this to work, we need to take the change in terms of accepting the upgrade of the application itself. So that's the another thing. As you can see, it's now saying to us, in order to continue, we need to go with forge install upgrade. All right. Do you want to continue? Yes, I do. And more yeses in here. And basically, that is going to be the most of it. And that is how you're building your Forge apps and everything. But you're going to see an interesting thing in here. So if I refresh this, you're going to be saying, well, I'm not seeing any differences in here, which is going to be true. And there are not going to be any differences because we actually want this to be logging into, if we actually go inspect from here, all right, a bit more. That means must be something hasn't been done right. Okay. Interesting. Interesting indeed. So when you see something like that, you're just going to return it back and going with it again. Now I also want to keep your CLI to the latest version. Anytime you can do this, do that, so you can actually avoid having some unexpected bugs being actually shown to you. All right. So the deployment is happening, packaging app files and everything else. And it's done. I go back. I don't need any of this. All right. It's back. All right. Another useful command that you can use is forge logs, where you can basically see what was happening in there. So, as you can see from here, we actually, see, this is the info that was happening here. What was the environment type? What was actually going on? module key, everything else. So this could be found with the forge logs option. Oh, that was a lot things to actually present. Yeah, that would be all for today's video. Don't forget to like, share, subscribe. See ya.